Hey, welcome. Thanks so much for joining me as we dive into the first installment of the Trade Spend Maximizer framework. Today, we're going to be talking about sales data. But before we do that, I just want to remind us of the challenge or the problem that we're discussing. So, trade spend in the CPG industry is the second largest line on the P&L behind cost of goods sold, yet it's usually the most challenging piece of the equation to really get insights and data out of. About 1/3 of our trade spend within the CPG industry is wasted each year. And so this is a major opportunity in our business as we work to ensure that those dollars are really driving that growth and that profitability and ultimately the products into the consumer's hands, and ensuring that they can enjoy the products that you're bringing to market. My promise is always going to be to try to provide you with something actionable that you can walk away with and you can implement in your business right away. So before we go any further, I just want to refresh us on the framework. So we've got the trade, spend, maximizer framework, and it is optimize. And then we got three levels. So the first is sales data, which we'll be talking about today. Trade spend data and trade metrics, all to get to the pinnacle of optimizing our trade spend, getting insights. And so as we think about this, we get to really just quickly want to ground us in the common sales data sets and definitions, so that we've got a clear understanding of what we need to get, what is at our disposal, and therefore can make decisions around how we want to go at this. And so, from a sales data perspective, I kind of see it in four key categories of data that you can get your hands on. We've got our inbound sales, which is going to be sales to your direct customer. So, for example, your distributor or your retailer. This will be as a source of data, something that you'll have internal information on, and you can begin to string together the data in a way that you need it. It is usually going to be at the highest level, especially if we're talking about distributors. It's going to be sold to the distributor, but it will not give you those indirect retailer data points. You then have outbound sales data, which is going to be from your distributor partner outbound to the retailer, and that gives us that indirect retailer data points that really give us some insights into our growth with those retailers being serviced by our distributor partners. The source of data here tends to be a portal or reports that we can get from the distributor, or maybe even the retailer if they have multiple regions. We then also have register sales, and I'm going to break this into two sections. You've got register sales and syndicated sales data. So the first one is going to be focused more on if you can get the register sales from the retailer directly, then that's one way you can get this information. So the example would be like Whole Foods Market sales data. And then you've got syndicated sales data, which you can get from data providers such as Spins and Nielsen and IRI. So these are the common data sets. I know there's other ways we can get to sales information, but these are going to be the most common that we see. Within this, the outbound sales data, I'm going to hone in on the distributors because this can be one of the more challenging areas to get the information formatted the way we want. Of course, we love our distributor partners and the information is there in most cases. And so it's how do we get that now into the format that we can leverage from a trade spend perspective. And so what you'll need and what you want to consider are really these three key pillars to success. So first of all, you've got your key metrics, and here we've got really the data points we want, right? So you need the retailer, so the indirect retailer and that outbound shipment data from the distributor to the retailer. So you want to identify retailers, the products, and then you want to have the units sold for those products to those retailers. It's going to be important to do mapping around this so that you're mapping the store. You're going to likely get very granular data where you can map the store to a chain. So you might have Sprouts store number 2, and you're going to route that to Sprouts as the overarching retailer chain. And then you want to map against your list price. This is super important when you're looking at these data sets that you're getting from your distributors. You want to be looking at it at your list price, not at their wholesale price, or perhaps a different kind of cost mechanism that they might be showing. So I like to do mapping and bump my units sold against my list price that I sell to the distributor at. And that'll get me the data, the sales at my cost, which is going to be how I want to calculate my trade spend. And we'll talk about that more as we get further into this framework. And then last but not least, we've got the reporting structure. How do we want to see this? And I have an example, as you can kind of tell below, that I'll go into in a moment. But we want to see this ideally month over month and year over year with at least 2 years of data. And this way we can get insights, we can see growth, we can really start to see those trends that can help us understand how the business is performing. And then, of course, we want to see this by retailer. So by retailer, month over month and year over year. And I'm going to show you an example here. So so this is how I would lay out my report so that I can really get as much out of this sales data as I can. And again, as we go through this framework, I'm going to talk about your trade spend data and how you're going to want to bump that against this sales data. And then we'll talk about metrics and how we can optimize that. But back to this example, we've got the retailer. We've aggregated it up at the retailer chain level. So we've got Sprouts, Publix, H-E-B as an example. We've then got our sales data at the top. We've got our units sold. So why don't I go like this? So we've got our sales, we've got our units, and then I've got my prior year, and I've got my change versus year ago. So you can see for each one of these, we can see some of the trends in our business, and this can help us to understand how things are performing. Of course, as we deploy dollars, the end goal is to get the product into the consumer's hands, and one of the metrics and ways that we can see that is how our sales are performing at the retailers that we are selling through. And so this gives us that information right at our fingertips. So last but not least, before we close out here today, I really hope that helps you think about how we can structure our data so that we can have the information in a format that when we get our trade spend data, we can bump against, and we can start to really get the insights, which then will allow us to optimize our trade spend. So just real quick, as you look at that, of course, that's going to take time and energy and effort, and you can definitely do it on your own. You can get this information, and we would encourage you to. And of course, we also provide this information at a click of a button so that you can quickly get to that information. We know you're busy going to category reviews, or perhaps, creating new innovation to launch into the market. So being able to just come into a portal, get the information you need, laid out in the way you need it, this is going to be able to do that for you at TrueUp. We provide that reporting and information and analytics. And so as you can see, laid out in a way that you can leverage it. There's a ton of other modules related to your sales data within our suite of tools, and this is just one example. So, last but not least, we just want to thank you for being here. We hope that was helpful as you think about the sales data part of the framework. We'll be back around to you in the next week or two with the next section of our framework. I hope you have a great day. I hope this was helpful. Should you have any questions or want to schedule a demo, please feel free to reach out. And as always, we will link this framework below so you can download this template and work with it as you create your own reporting related to sales. So thanks so much. Have a great one.